Hi, y'all. Welcome, Nerdy Knights, to the well-rounded table aboard Bohemian Geek Studies Millennium Fandom. I'm that Padawan learner, Sara O'Connor, Queen of Queries and Defender of Droids, and we are back with part 2 of our Ezra Bridger character study. Before we dive in, let's check in with the rest of the Nerdy Knights that we have here today. Introduce yourselves.
Hello there. I'm Jedi Master and Rebel Scum collaborator Colleen McMillan.
I'm Flo, and it was really hard to not say General Kenobi after that hello there. But I'm your manager of mischief, true youngling, never seen Rebels. I'm here to take notes and listen eagerly.
And I am Jedi Knight, Anders Drew.
And you know that we run the gambit here in terms of our rank from youngling to master, but no matter your rank, one thing remains the same. Much to learn we still have. And so last time on BGS, we started exploring Colleen's absolute amazing essay on Ezra Bridger from Star Wars Rebels and how his character develops increasingly strong empathic connections throughout the entire story. Her thesis is based around the poem, quote, Lothcat, Lothcat, Lothwolf run, pick a path, and all is done, which sounds so fun to say, and I was so nervous that I was going to botch it. Whew. Last time, we explored Ezra's character through his stage as the Lothrat, and today we are continuing on with the Lothcat stage, which mostly covers Season 2 and Season 3 of Rebels. So, like Part 1, this episode is completely and utterly spoil-filled for all 4 seasons of Rebels and beyond. So, if you haven't gotten a chance to watch Rebels yet, or have listened to Part 1 of this character study, please go enjoy them and come back to enjoy Part 2, 3, and 4 with us later. And if you have already enjoyed Rebels and Part 1, then grab your favorite drink from the cantina and prepare to relax and unwind as we engage your mind. What do you think, y'all? We ready to go?
Yes.
Ready as always.
Yep.
All right, Colleen, will then punch it.
All right, here we go, everybody.
I'm ready.
This is Lothcat. Flo is ready. Of all the Lothal fauna from the poem, the Lothcat is most like Ezra. Inquisitive, assertive, friendly, but also a little protective, and quick to strike at enemies. A little swipey.
That just reminds me, every time I've read that line, it just brings me back to the episode of Parks and Recreation, where they are like determining everybody's spirit dogs. Like Jerry's a bulldog, or Ron was a bulldog, I think. And it comes out at the end, April finally decides that Donna is not a dog at all. She's a cat for pretty much all of those reasons.
Yeah, I like the episode where they were matching personality to dog trait.
Yeah. Yes. So I love that episode. I also think I'm a cat sometimes. Okay.
And speaking of cats,
get back to our Lothcat, the white Lothcat in particular. This cat is brave, intuitive, and constant, most importantly. He's a bit like Ezra's familiar, the creature he connects with the most, and that symbolizes his personality and his journey. So from here, basically, in Season 2 through the series finale, whenever the white Lothcat is around, it signifies that something big is about to happen for Ezra.
Yep.
That's just really cool, because that's also a trait that we kind of know from Clone Wars between Ahsoka and Morai. So it's really that idea that Ezra is being brought in line with Ahsoka during this time period is just, I think, really significant, particularly when you think about his connection with Maul, that I'm pretty sure we're going to get pretty detailed on here very, very soon.
And Flo, for one of the questions I think I'd like us to kind of hunt down would be all of the white different symbolisms, especially as between Ezra and the animal that connects with him, and Ahsoka, her lightsabers, and the white owl.
Yep.
Yes.
So another creature that can lead a solitary existence but does well within a social group, these cats are playful hunters and often mischievous. This stage in Ezra's empathic development shows him exerting his individuality, giving more input on missions and getting into bigger trouble. It's the stage where he encounters many of his greatest challenges and where he tries to leave Kanan's shadow and lead. But this is also the time of his greatest growing pains, as he dabbles in the dark side under Maul's influence and strains under Kanan's guidance.
I love that teen angst.
Yeah,
Yes.
this
Ron
season.
I was going to say, I love that teen angst.
It's perfect. It's so good here with Ezra. So angsty. The mystery of Ezra's parents ends in the season 2 episode Legacy. So we finally get resolution on that, and that will help Ezra move into this stage. Ezra receives a force vision of his parents, and he's drawn back to Lothal. And he's basically looking for answers, hoping that he can find out if his parents are there or if he can find somebody who might know what's going on. First, he goes to his old family home, and that's where he encounters our little white Loth cat for the first time. He decides to follow the cat and meets the former fugitive Lothal governor. His name's Ryder Azadi. And Ryder tells Ezra that his parents instigated a mass breakout from the prison where they were being held, ensuring that a lot of people escaped, but in the end they sacrificed themselves. So they are now gone. And
they also,
Ezra's
point of clarity though, they led that uprising in response to the transmission Ezra sent from season 1, right?
Yep. They heard his words and decided it was time to rise up, which they did successfully. I mean, they made sure a lot of people escaped, but they self-sacrificed, which is, of course, something that a lot of our rebel heroes do, as we'll see coming up, including some people that we will be talking about later. In this, Ezra's anguish is palpable. He was so close to seeing his parents again, or he thought he was so close to seeing them again. But the vision was actually leading him to the white Loth cat and to Ryder. And Ezra can't accept this quite yet. He doesn't take him very long. He's angsty, but he doesn't stay angsty for super long. In one of the next episodes, he meets Princess Leia, the young, very sure of herself, confident Princess Leia. Leia is actually Ezra's age. They're only a couple days apart birth-wise. And she feels this weight of responsibility just like he does. And Ezra gets new inspiration despite losing his parents from Leia. She tells him, quote, "I feel like because I can fight, I have to, for those who cannot. And I think you might be the same way." So
and I really like when like original Star Wars characters get to interact with the newer, because it kind of weds it way together for me. It makes it a lot more realistic that the stories do go together, and it's not just a retcon of a retcon of a retcon.
Right. And you get to see what Leia's up to, being the Alderaanians are always putting their noses into refugee situations.
Yeah.
Which the Empire really can't do anything about, because they're like the do-gooders and everyone loves them. Like everyone loves Alderaan, so everyone loves Leia. And Ezra basically gets like the full Leia treatment here, which is really fun to see, just because they're that same age. And it's like Leia's already got her shit pretty much together, but she's also had it together since she was like 3.
Since she was born.
Very true.
Yeah, since she was born. She's been raised to be like this. Ezra hasn't. So I think she sees that too and is like, okay, I just need to give you a nudge and you'll be going in the right direction again. So after this, and after meeting Leia and hearing her advice, he can let his parents go and move on to the next stage in his life, from Loth Rat to Loth Cat. And then, focus on moving forward and helping others. This is Ezra moving into this stage. He gets the chance when the Ghost Crew encounters 2 surviving Lasat. These are members of Zeb species, and they were thought to be extinct, or mostly extinct. Here's our boy again, the forever problematic Hondo.
No, I will hear no slander against Hondo. All right. He is not problematic. He absolutely knows how to maximize profit and minimize danger to his friends, and almost always comes through in the end with the save. All right.
Minimize danger to himself.
All I'm saying is maybe a couple of etiquette lessons, and you wouldn't be able to tell the difference between him and Thrawn, and he would be outthinking Thrawn in terms of strategy.
Yeah, so Flo is correctly writing down Hondo / is Hondo better than
Hondo
Thrawn?
question mark.
I'm actually writing make Anders a Hondo shirt.
That would be perfect.
I would welcome that.
And I'm writing fanboy next to it.
Yeah,
that was
Hondo
delightful.
fanboy, that's for sure.
Hondo is delightful. In this scenario, though, he's our poor dude. I mean, he does lead Ezra to the refugees, so check. Good on the good side for Hondo there. But he's also the reason that Agent Kallus and the Empire start chasing them as they attempt to flee.
Callus would have found
Like,
them anyway. Hondo
what
got
on
them
the
out
other
of the
part?
situation in the end. All I'm saying is it's fine.
He does. Hondo actually gets captured here, which is very unlike him. We'll probably have to cover that in a future pod about our dude, our little space pirate. He's fantastic. But like Ezra, once again, his willingness to trust and forgive Hondo will continue through the series. We haven't seen the last of Hondo yet. And we do have to agree that he was instrumental in uniting Zeb with
Yeah,
the
I
refugee
love Hondo.
Lasat.
He's great.
Yep. So I mean, this was a very good thing he did. Zeb thought he was alone, and now he finds out that he's not.
We'll definitely do a character study on him. It's just a matter of when,
Yes.
not if.
Yes. He steps in. I mean, he does step in when it looks like Callus is going to immediately capture them and gets captured in turn. So we will give Hondo the benefit of the doubt on this one. But getting back to Ezra, like once they get back to the Ghost and they're trying to outrun Callus, they're trying to get to Zeb's people's kind of legendary planet Lyrasan. Ezra like immediately enmeshes himself with these two Lasat. He's really eager to learn about them and their culture. He leaps into their chanting circle and he's like telling Zeb to come on over and engage as well. He's like, come on, Zeb, hop in and start chanting with us. This is great.
It was so much like if your ex and your current significant other meet, or like if you bring a friend over and you're like warning them against your family, like they're nuts, and then they immediately get in and they're best friends with everybody, and then you're just in the back corner like arms folded. That was.
Are you talking from like personal? This sounds like a little very realistic. Is this like where we have to hash this out? Because we can do that here if you need to.
No. This is just straight up TV tropes.
This is a safe space.
Yeah.
Safe space.
This definitely is not going live, Anders. We're fine.
No, I'm usually Ezra in that scenario.
Okay, so the angsty one. We get it. We get it.
I'm the one who's just like, yo, let's have fun. Let's jump right in. Let's do this.
Yes.
And speaking of connecting people, to stay on track, isn't Ezra also good at connecting people, Colleen?
Oh, you bet your butt he is. He's fantastic. I mean, this is, like we've been saying, this is Ezra's main power. And he's insistent upon it. Like, he insists on connecting with people and more creatures. Right. This actually is one of my favorite episodes. I love this episode. People at the time called it filler.
No.
And we're just like, what's going on with this episode? Okay, so we're in season 2, episode called The Call. This early episode has some like really staggering endgame implications that most people didn't expect, which is why it's like not a filler episode whatsoever. It's like
let them know, Colleen. Let them know.
I'm here to stand for this episode.
Pay attention now.
Everybody watch this episode very carefully. So it's a little bit like we talked about last episode, how Ezra could feel Darth Vader. First, the kind of icy presence. This time, he hears this like hauntingly sad song outside the Ghost as they're on a mission. Kanan doesn't hear it at first. He's kind of like, I don't hear anything. Ezra, sit down. But
and
Ezra's like, no, it's there.
It's Ezra who guesses that it sounds sad. Is that right, Colleen?
And it sounds sad when you're listening to it. It kind of sounds like melancholy.
See, it sounds like whales to me. Yes. It just sounds like whale noises.
The whales.
It does, but it's got that like kind of a downward feel to it.
Very
can you do a whale sound, please?
Can anyone speak whale?
You have to. You do.
Colleen, that's all you.
I cannot speak whale.
Yeah.
I can only speak it like Dory speaks it.
Exactly. Yeah, we can speak
Hello,
it like yes. It has that kind of low register kind of. It sounds sad. And at this point they are kind of sad. So we'll go with sad.
I mean, they're on the hunt for food. They're trying to find their food source.
Yep, they're looking for their fuel. The Ghost, upon Kanan finally kind of starts hearing the sound, and they're soon surrounded by these massive whale-like creatures. Yay!
Yep.
They're the Purgle. That's what they're called, the Purgle. Ezra is enchanted with them.
Actually, hold on. I want to like semi-flex here for 1 second. It's actually per gill. So Hera, like not as much like the emphasis needs to be on gills, as if it's like purring from its gills. Which I think is very interesting because like Hera kind of pronounces it both ways in the episode, which I think contributes to some people pronounce it. Like, listen, have fun with it. However you want to pronounce it, I'm fine.
It's kind of like
fine.
Lothal itself.
Yeah.
Callus says Lothal a couple times
Yes.
at first, but then once he's stationed there and he kind of gets to know the dialect, he starts transitioning to Lothal.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like,
I just think it's very interesting that like one of the key animals that is definitely, in my humble opinion, tied to Ezra's fate even after season 4 somehow also relates subtly to cats, like with the little purring and stuff. Like it's also in a way like an engine because they deal with a
They
hyperspace
Listen
thing.
to that baby purr.
Yeah, and like let's blast off. So I can't wait until we talk about them more, but
yes, they're
now's not
amazing
the time,
creatures.
Sarah. Move on.
They
Thank you,
are
next.
amazing creatures, and at first they're trying to fly against them. All these people are coming at them and they're trying to fly against them, and Ezra says, turn around, let's fly with them. And Hera is like, ugh, fine. So it works. Once they start flying with them, everything's fine. They don't bump into them, nothing happens.
Yep.
Even though Hera's still out here like, they're a menace to spacecraft.
And so this is one of those very, very rare times where we see Hera just being wrong. Because yes, these animals can totally cause accidental damage, and I get that as a pilot, but like you don't even know what a role these animales are about to be playing, Hera. So like don't injure any of these precious little space manatees. And it is interesting, right, that Ezra the empath, one of the strongest, if not strongest in the universe, is the one to hear them like so far in advance. And then also like Kanan, it took them to literally be eyeballs with you to be like, I now sense them. No, you don't. You just looked out the window, bro.
Oh, Kanan.
Kanan.
Well, and he might not even feel them. If
That's
he's
what I'm
kind of,
saying.
If
He
he's
didn't
kind
feel
of
anything.
edging off of Ezra's skill, if they're kind of like sharing skill, he might just be feeling what Ezra's feeling.
And that's fine. That's fine.
But yes, so Ezra immediately forms these connections with them. And they actually save him later in the episode. Ezra's about ready to suffocate in these kind of poisonous gases that the Purrgil actually eat. Yep. And they save him. It's so cute. One of the little tentacles grabs his helmet and gives it back to him.
It's only after they have a conversation, though. They have a conversation and reach a deeper understanding. Oh, I can't wait to talk about them.
When they
write it down, Flo. Write it down.
Did you say they have tentacles?
The Purrgil. Yeah, they're like a whale like, squid kind of thing.
Okay, because obviously I don't know what a Purrgil looks like, but I'm just like picturing a whale, and then you're like tentacles. I'm like, where?
The front is a whale, right? Okay. And then the bottom is like a squid. So think whale plus Theon Greyjoy, like Kraken.
Got it.
They are. They really are space krakens.
Yes.
Got it.
Because they're ship destroyers too. So yeah, they're
with
like the sea monsters. You're there be sea monsters.
But like the gentleness of a manatee. Let's not get it like
absolutely.
Yes, they're precious.
So like a Krakatee.
Yes, yeah.
A Krakatee. I love it. All right, so Ezra he talks with them and he asks them for help, basically. And he connects with them so deeply. Their eyes kind of look like World Between Worlds with the stars.
Kind of,
their pupils. It's almost like Ezra really goes into a deep trance with these whale guys.
Almost as if there might be some hidden symbolism there being artistically depicted.
Maybe indeed. Dave Filoni, smarty pants, knows what's going on. So they actually then help the Ghost crew defeat the mining guild. They're trying to get fuel from the mining guild, and the mining guild guys are dicks. So the Purrgil help them destroy the mining guild people, which is hysterical.
Yep.
And then once they're back on the Ghost, Ezra says, quote, "It wasn't like anything I've ever experienced. I could see what they were thinking." And so Kanan remarks on the probable, come on, Kanan, obviously strong connection, and just like showing us his continued awe of Ezra's gift. But then this is also priming viewers for the series finale, whether they knew it or not.
Yep.
It's like Ezra's understanding of and empathy, of course, for these creatures that inspires them to help him. He actually feels what they feel, and they're feeling what he's feeling at this moment. It's just So sweet. I love it.
It's also, I wanted to point out one more thing, that the Purgles or Purgils do like this circle thing that the Lothwolves do, right, as like an entryway. And so I wonder if, though we won't get a season 5, something related to additional animals and openings to, never, like, will happen, especially with respect to where Thrawn and he go, ? But before we get there, Anders, where are we going next?
So after the episode with the Purgil, we really get into the largest portion of Ezra's Lothcat stage. And that comes in the form of a challenge from Yoda that stretches across pretty much the remainder of the series. So Ezra, Kanan, and Ahsoka, they go back to Lothal, to the Jedi Temple. They go through a different door this time, and they're trying to gain that knowledge of how to defeat the Sith. And then while he's meditating, Ezra, a little bit of a stronger connection this time, whereas last time he just heard Yoda's voice, he actually sees him in Yoda's most, let's call it, interesting visual form.
You have to. You've now left it like,
Yoda just looks weird here. Yoda just looks weird here. His head is like smaller and more like straight up circular.
Yeah.
The animation just looked really strange.
They should have kept the Clone
considering
Wars
how well they did
style.
with him in Clone Wars. It's kind of weird.
That's very weird.
I also think he was taller.
Oops.
Maybe he's wearing lifts.
Could be. I don't know. So Ezra asks Yoda, why would it be wrong for me to want to protect my friends? And Yoda, cryptic as always, says a lifelong challenge not to bend fear into anger, which I hear and I'm immediately thinking of one of our favorites, Harry Potter and Dumbledore, talking about how you have to kind of keep battling against evil. It'll never quite go away, but you can always continue to push it back. I was telling you guys before we started, I've been watching Warehouse 13, and I saw an episode today where they actually pretty much quoted that exactly again.
Oh, wow.
Nice. It's also like, isn't there a Game of Thrones quote where death is the first enemy and the last, and the enemy always wins?
Yes.
It's very like that, too.
But we have to keep
very
fighting.
much like
That's
that.
right. We keep fighting.
And it's the fight that matters.
That's right.
Yes.
So Yoda also tells Ezra, again, how the Jedi choose to win is really what's important. And Ezra, he's starting to stick to his convictions more, and he says that they have chosen to fight. So Yoda instructs Ezra to find Malachor, which Ezra thinks at first is a person, but we later learn is a planet. Now, did Yoda have an idea of what sending these 3 to Malachor would ultimately do? Probably unlikely that he knew the specifics and everything exact, but he had to have had an inkling, otherwise he wouldn't have actually sent them there. At the very least, he thought Kanan, Ahsoka, and Ezra would be sorely tested.
I like the idea that Yoda did know, because if the holocron is going to be like the master of death, I want House Hufflepuff head boy in charge of it, because I know he's not going to use it. And it's very interesting to watch that progression, but that kind of, we'll get to all that in another episode, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But I like the idea, actually, just to play the opposite. Yes, I completely understand where you're coming from, but there is, I think, a good faith argument that Yoda did know and would have acted intentionally, hoping how things ultimately played out. Maybe the details, cloudy is the future, uncertain is the path, but the destination of the journey, we need head boy in charge of this holocron.
It's whether he knew
straight
if
answer would have been nice.
Someone was there.
Straight answer would always be nice with Yoda. So in other words, are you agreeing, Anders? Is that an agree? Because that's
I think he had a pretty strong idea.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Yes. Whether he knew exactly who was there is another question we would have to ask.
Waiting for him? Yeah, that is also a very good. I prefer that question because the other question I feel like I've answered, at least for my comfort level.
Whether he knew someone else was there that's another clincher right there. Thanks, Yoda.
Yeah.
So Yoda's suggestion to go to Malachor comes to a head in the 2-part season finale, which we told Flo to watch last episode. And this is called Twilight of the Apprentice, parts 1 and 2. Eventually, Flo, eventually. Not yet.
Sorry.
She's still working through Clone Wars. We're proud of her. We're not going to detract her from
I'm
her journey.
so close to being done with season 2 of Clone Wars.
Yeah, that's like
So
impressive.
you're getting to the good stuff.
Yeah, you're battling right now.
Into some Obi-Wan drama at the end of season 2.
Keep fighting, Flo. Keep
All right.
You can do it. So in this finale, we have Kanan, Ahsoka, and Ezra, and Chopper, of course, fly to Malachor, a planet that houses an ancient Sith temple. Thanks, Yoda.
I loved it.
The temple. When
I
Ezra
loved it.
shows interest in the relics that are kind of strewn around, he asks why Yoda would have sent them to a Sith planet. Excellent question.
Why
Ezra.
indeed?
Keep asking these questions. And Ahsoka's like, that is a good question. She proposes, quote, to defeat your enemy, you need to understand them.
That makes sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
It
So,
Yeah,
who's
that
good at
makes
understanding people? Yoda knows. Yoda knows it's our dude, Ezra.
Yep.
So perhaps Yoda did kind of detect this particular talent in Ezra and knew he wouldn't be prepared to face the upcoming challenges in his path without further knowledge of the enemy. But still, we're heading into some rough territory for Yoda here.
Yep.
So thus, this leads us to the first of Ezra's 3 biggest challenges throughout the series. Meeting and, unfortunately, connecting very deeply with Maul.
You say unfortunately. I'm doing fine.
Fortunately in the long run, unfortunately for a lot of other
I would agree with that. That I'll agree with.
And fans had no idea Maul would be entering Rebels. I certainly had no clue. I saw the hooded guy bent over and I was like, that looks like Maul. This is gonna be great. So it was a fun surprise to see him hiding out on Malachor and pretending to be like this weak old man with a cane.
Yeah.
The cane that looks
he's hobbling around.
suspiciously like an Inquisitor's lightsaber, but whatever.
Or like
But
Jafar waiting by the temple,
Yes.
like imploring Aladdin to come on in and get like the lamp. That's
Yeah.
what I see. That's
Colleen,
what I
remind me real quick though, because I think, like you said, fans didn't know that he was going to make this appearance. And as far as we knew, like if you had watched Clone Wars and everything, the last you had seen of Maul, he had been captured by Palpatine on Mandalore after he and his brother Savage Opress had been defeated.
Oof, yeah, that was poor. Yeah, rarely do I say poor Maul with such vehemence as after that scene, after Savage is dead and Palpatine has basically just like bitch slapped him down. So I would say probably if fans hadn't consumed the comics, they wouldn't have known exactly what was going to be happening, because the Son of Dathomir comics were first released in 2014 and Twilight of the Apprentice was in 2016. So
Yeah.
at least they would have known that he had escaped Palpatine, but they wouldn't have known what happened to him.
Yep.
Okay.
There are still a lot of holes too. We had a tiny little glimpse of him in Solo, so we have a little bit of an idea what he's been up to before Rebels, but not even close to enough.
And kind of getting back to what's happening to our characters kind of in the season, Ezra is separated from Kanan and Ahsoka and meets Maul in an underground chamber. The ex-Sith is curious and doesn't appear to be dangerous at all. But Ezra wisely uses caution, because why would a guy be hanging out alone on a Sith planet? ?
Valid question.
I love how
Valid
like
concern.
he doesn't appear dangerous. The guy is like red and black and has
Lurking.
horns. Like,
He can't
What?
see
He had a
him
hood
yet.
at the beginning.
He's
He had
hooded,
a
yeah,
hood.
he's hooded. So
Yeah.
he's kind
okay,
of,
well, extra sketchy.
He's just hanging out. It's totally fine because Maul is the master manipulator and senses Ezra's open nature. He tells Ezra that the Sith took everything from him. Not a lie.
No.
And Ezra immediately drops his guard. He also wants knowledge on how to defeat the Sith, so he agrees to help Maul access the temple by using the dark side.
One of these days, I want to do like a short episode just on the two temples from Rebels, the Jedi and the Sith temple, and just how they like exemplify the different sides of the Force and everything with them.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Love
I
it.
would,
Mhm.
Flo, can you add that to the list? Including their construction, like artistically from an architectural structure too.
Yes.
So it's fascinating, the different challenges, etc. So yeah, add it to the list so we don't get distracted. Colleen, next up.
Oh, yep, here we go. My dude, I love my dude Maul. He's fantastic. These two work surprisingly well together, like a little alarmingly well together. And Maul eventually gives Ezra some advice. So, quote, our dude Maul, unless you take risks, do what must be done. There will always be limits to your abilities. Seize the knowledge, seize the power. Don't become like me. So,
Good advice.
some of it is very good advice. I mean, the audience knows Maul well enough to see the merit in some of his statement. Like, yeah,
Some? I
Some.
say all.
there's some
Bro's
merit.
not lying here. Like,
Yeah,
I'll call him out
you
when
do
he's
have to take
lying. He's
risks.
not lying right now.
He is not
Not
lying.
right now.
Not right now.
Not yet. Not until he's a little bit more desperate. But I mean, we're still a little leery of Maul's obsession with power. And Ezra, his idea of power would be so different from Maul's. So the red flags aren't flying for him here. He's like, oh yeah, the power of knowledge. Let's go get that power of knowledge. It's not at all what Maul's idea of power would be. So instead of being like, no, let's not do this right now, Ezra doubles down on this new bond, and he engages with Maul in trying to open the Sith Temple. It's a really interesting puzzle because it forces two Sith to work together to gain access to it, much like the Jedi Temple on Lothal. Like it takes two in order to get inside.
Yep.
But teamwork and support and trust are complete mystery to the Sith. So we're basically waiting for Maul to turn on Ezra as soon as he can.
Yep.
But that doesn't happen, so we have to wonder what else Maul is up to.
And I really wonder what would have happened first if the Jedi had found Maul and not the other way around. And two, if any one of the Thunder Buddies for life that Maul tried to recruit had been like, you know what? You shouldn't be alone. Like, imagine if Harry Potter didn't have Hermione and Ron.
Mhm.
Imagine.
Mhm.
I don't
We
like
will
to
talk
imagine a
about
world
this.
without Ron.
Yeah,
We'll
so
talk
like
about this in the Maul pod for sure.
yeah, always the apprentice, never the master. And like, I don't want to be a Maul apologist because like Maul does some
he does
mauling.
bad shit. He does
Yeah.
bad shit.
Yeah.
Yes. But there are very good psychological reasons for why he is.
And
the
plot
way he
points.
is.
And plot
And plot
points.
points. And plot points. Very important to have character development with the plot points.
And he's
So-
a snack.
He is a snack. He is complete danger snack. But we will also talk about that in the Maul pod. So back to him and Ezra. We found out really quickly what Maul's intentions are here. He's taken a liking to Ezra and plans to recruit him as his apprentice. Maul, he's very much like Ezra in his desperation to connect. He doesn't really know that that's what he's trying to do, but he's always trying to find an apprentice or someone to connect with. And here he's found this perfect little Force-enhanced empath, like gift-wrapped for him, basically. Someone
Right.
who could understand him, like could read him. And so he's not about to let Ezra go without a fight. Ezra's sitting here like, my master this, my master that, and Maul's like, that's something to put in the back of my brain to deal with later. So
Tries
we have
to.
to enter 3 Inquisitors because, of course, the Inquisitors are tracking Maul, the Shadow, and they attack Kanan and Ahsoka. Ezra believes Maul will help them. He's like, look, my friend. I brought a friend. I brought help.
What fun!
My good friend Tom is right here. It's totally fine.
Fine. He's totally going to help us, guys. And
He's red, like those flags I'm ignoring.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. Ahsoka's like, no, like, fuck. And Kanan's like, what's going on here? Because he doesn't really know who Maul is. But Ahsoka does. Ahsoka knows who Maul is. But I mean, Ezra isn't wrong yet that Maul will help him,
Right.
but he hasn't quite gotten the right read on his new friend. Maul, though, he knows that he will not stand a chance against Darth Vader because Vader is coming. He's on his way.
Yeah. He's planning ahead.
He's planning ahead. Maul is usually planning ahead. He proposes an alliance with Ahsoka and Kanan.
Again, not wrong.
Not wrong. But they know better than to trust him. They're like,
Again, not wrong.
maybe we should ditch him now. Can we just ditch him? But Ezra's super adamant that they give Maul a chance. So Kanan eventually gets Ezra alone and reminds him to be mindful of Maul. But Ezra says, quote, Maul sees what I could be, you don't.
Again, hooray for that teenage angst. But also in this moment, small question though, when Ezra says that, like, what does he mean? He's like, it sees what I could be. What does Ezra think he could be? That he's not
I think more
already?
Powerful than, like, I think he's just ready to learn more lessons. Yeah, and he's just, Kanan's being gentle and safe with his Padawan.
Yep, and Kanan wouldn't be able to teach him anything about the dark side either.
Yeah.
Especially how to use it.
Mm-hmm.
Ezra's ready to, like, grease lightning.
Ezra doesn't see it as bad yet. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's ready. And he wants more knowledge. I mean, he thinks that the knowledge is going to be the power that he can use. He doesn't see it as a weapon quite yet. And Ezra's mind is a little clouded at the moment. I mean, his assessment of Kanan versus Maul isn't entirely wrong. Like we said, like, there are things Maul could teach Ezra that Kanan just can't. But he's also not being fair. Like, come on, this is your dad, basically. This is your space dad. That's another reason why he's fighting back against him. Like, can't tell me what to do, Dad. Can't tell me who my friends can be.
Yeah.
So they both see his potential. Maul and Kanan see Ezra's potential. But Ezra can't distinguish the difference quite yet. Like, he doesn't know what seeking advice will do to him and to others. So Ezra begs Kanan to trust his judgment.
And Ezra is eager to learn from someone new, especially a dangerous snack. But fortunately, he also doesn't want to leave Kanan. So it's almost as if, like, he wants to have it both ways. And we have to wonder if Kanan taught Ezra enough about the dark side and the pool that it has. If Kanan had, maybe there would have been a different outcome. But Ezra's tendency to give people the benefit of the doubt backfires horribly. Once Maul sends Ezra to activate the Sith temple with the holocron they found together, he immediately turns on Ahsoka and Kanan when the Inquisitors are vanquished. Like, surprise, surprise. He has an apprentice that he wants to get alone. So Kanan is blinded by Maul's lightsaber, which will haunt Ezra into the next season. Cue the angst. Mm-hmm. And Ahsoka is seemingly killed, sacrificing herself in a duel with Darth Vader.
So epic. That fight was so cool. Especially
so beautiful.
With the super weapon in the background and everything. And it was just so well done.
Mm-hmm.
So beautiful. And it was also very interesting. I wonder if it's because it was a kid's show. They allowed, like, a very short peek of Ahsoka walking away. Because I wonder if it wasn't an ostensible kid's show, if they wouldn't have shown Ahsoka hadn't survived yet. Because could you imagine, like, I can't imagine the inevitable, but can you imagine if you had a little kiddo who was looking up to Ahsoka and they watched Vader kill Ahsoka? Like, nah.
I don't know.
I don't know
how they would do that, because I mean, they weren't shy about they're not shy about, spoiler alert.
Yeah, spoiler alert.
Kanan,
Right.
Season 4.
I don't know. I wonder if it's
cry,
because
guys, yet.
I feel like with Ahsoka they did it gentler because we watched Ahsoka grow up. We have not watched Kanan grow up. We have watched Ezra grow up. So either way, regardless, Ezra doesn't know that Ahsoka has made it. The viewer knows because of, like, 2 little second flash of Ahsoka. But Ezra thinks that Ahsoka hasn't made it. And he blames himself for this. So while he was able to resist the Sith Temple, which was a devastating weapon, Ezra still has a lot to overcome to reach the next stage in his development. Horrified by Maul's treachery and believing the events on Malachor are his fault, Ezra decides to engage with the Sith holocron to fix the wrongs he caused, because nothing ever went wrong when you open Pandora's box. Let's see what's inside. His empathy betrayed him, so Ezra chooses a different, darker path.
Yeah, just holding this little thing. Oh, it's caused absolutely nothing but trouble. It almost activated a doomsday weapon, pretty much nearly killed me and the people I care about the most. Yeah. I guess I'll use it as a study guide.
Yeah, and like a study guide for what, right? Jedi Knight, like why would you do
Oh,
this?
totally obviously, it had to be that I just wasn't quite ready for it. That's where I went wrong. Not using it in the first place, Could it be
Yeah.
that Master Kanan was staring me in the face, telling me, "Don't do this. This is a bad idea. Don't. It is too dangerous." I'll just, use it to learn some shortcuts to like absolute power, and definitely not tell Kanan because, parents just don't understand.
Yeah, they definitely can't.
They really don't. Cue Ezra being broody as fuck and hiding in his room for months. Basically, 6 months pass from the end of season 2 to the beginning of season 3. And we find Ezra bolder, but also more reckless. Interestingly, though, his lightsaber blade has changed colors from blue to green, reflecting like that deep emotional change. And Jedi, I want to go over the Jedi lightsaber colors just really quick. Jedi whose saber colors are blue are called Jedi Guardians. This represents physicality, bravery, and righteousness. Those with the green saber crystals are Jedi Consulars, and those who value harmony, cooperation, and a deep spiritual connection to the Force. It's pretty easy to deduce here that Ezra's saber color changed due to the trauma that he faced on Malachor. But is he choosing to cooperate with the wrong forces at this point? And we don't get to see very much of his dalliance with the Sith holocron. It lasts only 2 episodes on screen, but he's been using it for months. And he's still really drawn to it. He even asks Kanan when Kanan takes it away. He's like, "So, where'd you put that Sith holocron?"
Kind of like the Slytherin locket. And
Yes.
and like the One Ring, right?
I was
Very
going to
much
say
so.
more like the Half-Blood Prince's book.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Very
It's like
true.
Repository.
That's true. Yeah,
like,
yeah.
refusing to give
Yes.
it up, just like
Repository
using
of
it,
knowledge
using it.
with
Or Riddle
Ventress's
Diary.
voice. It's not Ventress, but Ventress's voice actress is talking to him, so
good.
it sounds very sultry and
I'd listen to her
draws
read
him in.
anything.
Yo, talk
She
about
could
a
read a
danger snack.
recipe book, and I'd be like,
He's a
okay.
Ventress.
Yes,
Ventress. Yes, we will also talk about Ventress at some point.
I love her.
Definitely. So the holocron also affects his mood. It basically is like puberty unleashed for real, and not any of the good parts of puberty unleashed.
Are there good
He-
parts? I didn't realize.
Yeah, no, there are definitely good parts.
He's getting tall, getting taller.
Yeah,
Ezra
growth
would like to
spurts.
get taller, I'm sure. He's a little short, so he gets a little bit taller here. Huge red flag alert, though. We were just talking about how you could use empathy and mind control and things in a bad way. And we see Ezra do this. And even though it seems kind of funny when you watch it at first, when you really think about it, it's pretty terrifying. He uses the Jedi mind trick to mind control
Yeah.
a couple Imperial soldiers from a
It's not
considerable
pretty.
distance. Like, he's far away from them. He doesn't
Yeah,
make
he
eye
is.
contact.
Nope.
He has
It's not
nothing
pretty.
really to go off of.
It is not a great look.
Not great. He forces these walker pilots to shoot all of the stormtroopers who are standing around and kill them all. And then he forces them to walk the walker off of a platform to their
Okay.
own deaths.
Hold on, though. Flo, I'm lighting this because I want to signal the fact that we should write down this question. Is it more ethically responsible to mind control someone off a cliff or Gryffindor blast them in the face?
Gryffindor blast him in the face, no question.
All right.
Unfortunately,
Harry
they could
did
have
use
tried
the
to escape.
Imperious curse.
Yeah, he
Harry
did.
use it.
Yes.
So
Yes,
He
he
used
did.
it under
he
a
used it
different
several
circumstance, I would
times.
think.
He
Because
does.
Ezra can still deflect blaster
Very
fire
tough
with his
luck.
lightsaber. Like, he could incapacitate the troops in a different way, but instead he chooses to death march these
Yep.
guys that he's mind
Yeah.
controlling and bodily controlling off of a platform. I think that's where it comes into play, is that he's taking away the free will.
Mm.
Anything to do
Yeah.
with taking away of the free will is when you're edging into unfortunate territory. And Ezra, my dude, this is that negative side effect of his empathetic power, his Jedi superpower, is that he can weaponize it.
Yep.
I mean, he's desperate
Yeah.
to keep his friends safe at this point, absolutely desperate. And he promises that they will never get hurt again. He promises that he will never let them get hurt again.
Mhm.
This attitude reeks of a little guy we may know named Anakin Skywalker. wanting to control Padme's fate in the prequels. While it is very natural to feel concern for your loved ones, attempting to use the Force to control their fates never turns out well.
That's true. And I just want to bring up, drawing back, talking about the Anakin parallels there. Also, a little bit of bringing us back to some Luke parallels between him and Ezra. Like you said, his lightsaber color changed. He has had to change lightsabers altogether because Darth Vader actually destroyed his stun gun, staple gun one in Twilight of the Apprentice. So he had to get a new crystal, build a new lightsaber. Just like Luke did, Vader slices off Luke's hands, and his original saber goes tumbling down on Bespin. So Luke has to construct a new one that has also now gone from blue to green. When Luke shows up in Return of the Jedi, he's got that like black cloak, very Palpatine looking. He's dabbling in some dark side powers, using that Force choke as he enters Jabba's palace. So again, very, very similar trajectories.
I would agree. The only part I would say is a little different is that he's using Anakin's lightsaber first. So that's where the blue crystal comes from the first saber. The green one is one he actually earns. So you're kind of thinking, like, even though he does exhibit the more kind of Jedi Guardian aspects in the first two movies, and now in Jedi he's kind of moved over into this more connected part to the Force, the more spiritual connection. So I think the second saber cover is more Luke at this point, but it's a really good connection to make, again, between Ezra and Luke. They're changing through trauma, which makes me wonder why other Jedi don't change color as often, although a lot of times they don't have to make a new saber either.
They just might not be as angsty.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Not quite as angsty.
I think young
not
Kanan
quite as
is pretty
domineering,
angsty.
Controlling to change your Padawan's lightsaber.
Frickin' Anakin
I'm just
changing
saying.
Ahsoka's. Yes.
You guys keep saying domineering and Anakin's lightsaber. And just, woo!
So back to Ezra, though. He, at this point in the story, has trouble connecting with the creature for the first time pretty much since his failed initial attempt with the Lothcat. The Krishna, and I think I'm saying that right.
I think so.
Spiders on Atollon are the only creatures that Ezra can't connect with, so they're trying to build this new rebel base. It's being attacked by giant weird spiders that haunt my nightmares. And
All right,
Ezra
Ron.
attempts to
kill them all.
Ezra attempts to reach out with the Force as one is, stalking the new base, and the spider actually attacks. And Ezra's response is, all right, fine. I guess we won't be friends. Just trying to be nice. But it does that line actually does clue us into that Ezra, when he reaches out to creatures, he is trying to befriend them. Like he is consciously in his mind, kind of going back to the Purgil, that gratitude, and trying to gain that connection through mutual understanding. Ultimately, he and Kanan both learn from the Bendu, this really massive moose-like, like very natural looking. He's almost got like rocks growing out of his back. Like he's just this ancient,
very never-ending story.
It felt almost very like Zelda to me.
I was kind of reminded of the lion turtles from Avatar: Last Airbender.
Yes.
They have like forests growing out of their backs.
And I like to think of Bendu, how he talks and his name and what he, I guess, is supposed to symbolize is kind of that like ultimate, if you're going to bend in the Force, he's like exactly at the middle of that bend, the center of the center.
Yes.
And I love that idea. Yeah.
Which he does say. He says he exists in the middle between the light and the dark, and that inner conflict that keeps Kanan and Ezra from letting go, which causes the spiders to attack. Bendu really stresses the need for teamwork, cooperation, and because Kanan and Ezra's relationship is so unbalanced at this point, it's really necessary.
Yeah.
So in this cave, deep within filled with these giant spiders. It's Kanan that's able to calm them, and Ezra is like stunned. He's, whoa. How did you do that? I can't even do that. Again, cluing us into the fact that even Ezra knows his level of power is pretty unusual. It's very out of the ordinary.
Yeah. Do you think Ezra realizes here at all that perhaps because he was dabbling with the holocron, his usual powers are dampened, or that's like too far afield for what is actually going on, and it's actually Kanan who is stronger? Because I almost feel like if Ezra hadn't been exercising different darker muscles, the burden might not have been as heavy.
I think that's
balanced too at this point.
Yeah, I think the holocron is pulling him out of balance. Kind of, it's
Okay.
he would. I think if he hadn't been using that holocron, his empathic light side abilities would be hindered in that way.
Okay.
And it's finally when Ezra breaks down and is apologizing to Kanan, feeling so responsible for what happened on Malachor and how sorry he is, that we really get into what's been eating at him, and it's that guilt he feels for trusting Maul, and bringing him and Kanan together has just completely overwhelmed him, and is another thing kind of blocking his powers. And then Kanan showing this absolute depth of emotional maturity that teenage angsty Ezra can't quite comprehend yet, but it is very much a trait seen in Jedi. Says, "It wasn't your fault. I never blamed you, Ezra. It's time for you to forgive yourself."
Yeah. And I don't remember writing this. If Kanan is lying a little here, Colleen, was that your question, or was that
I think that was me, actually. That was me.
Okay.
That was me like looking at the quote and just being like, you know what? All right. I understand Kanan is trying to be the bigger person here, but is he lying just a little bit when he says, "I never blamed you"? Like, really? The kid insisted on bringing this guy in, which ultimately caused you to go blind.
I don't know.
I don't
Go
think
ahead,
he's lying
Colleen.
per se. I mean,
not obviously not like majorly, but absolutely a little bit.
There's probably a little kernel
it's kind of human
in
instinct.
Kanan that would be like, "Fucking kid, damn it."
Exactly.
I'm guessing he blames Maul way more.
Yeah.
Definitely, and he should.
Kanan, he's so in tune with Ezra's needs. I don't think he would blame Ezra unless it was a really short moment of anger. And then he would be really devastated that he felt that way, which might be one reason why he and Ezra were not connecting. Yes, should Ezra have listened to Kanan about Maul? Yep. Hell yes. But I don't think Kanan would begrudge Ezra for trying to empathize with someone, even a former Sith, just because that is his innate ability. And trying to convince Maul to join their side, even for a short time, maybe would have been beneficial. I don't know if that's what Kanan was thinking about in the moment, but it would have been. And I mean, Yoda was the one who sent them there in the first place. Blame Yoda here for a little bit. And Ahsoka
Straight answer. That's all I'm saying.
Ahsoka pushed Ezra away when she was fighting with Vader. Like, Ezra did try and go help her, and Kanan knew that he was doing that. So he knows that Ezra was pushed by Ahsoka out of the way. Like, everyone made their choices on Malachor, so it can't be all put on Ezra. And Kanan's the teacher, so he takes a lot of this on himself. He thinks this is his failing. He thinks he's failed Ezra in this way.
Yep.
And I think he would be really proud that Ezra did not kill the seventh sister, that Inquisitor, when Maul told him to.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, Ezra fought against the dark side in that moment, and against the temple itself when he found out it was a weapon. So Kanan then would also be like, yes, this is what I've been teaching you. This is what we need to keep going on. And his first objective is to protect Ezra at all costs and his emotional state. But he does let their relationship fray over that 6-month hiatus. He does. I think this has more to do with Kanan's own frustration, though, than like, and his disability.
They're both a little angsty.
Than with Ezra. Yes,
they are. They went through a trauma.
Yes, they did. And they're trying to come out on the other side. And thankfully, Bendu was on Atollon, which is probably another reason that they were kind of called there. Why it's been protected from the Empire for so long. So he basically just tells Ezra what he needs to hear.
Yeah.
He
I think
does
it
the
was a total space
thing.
dad. Yeah.
Yep, he's our
For
space
sure.
dad forever. Just, he says the things that will allow their relationship to heal. Like, even though Ezra has little trouble connecting with people, the chasm between them was just too big for Ezra to walk alone.
Yep.
But he was the first to reach out in that cave. He shows how much he's grown. He's like, I'm so sorry. It was my fault. He wanted to reestablish this connection with Keenan, his teacher and his father figure. Like, and they hug. It's so great. I love that they hug. We'll talk about that a little bit later in our Master and Apprentice section, just their kind of relationship.
Mhm.
And this moment kind of proves to be the most important moment in his life. Just that reestablishment of the connection with Keenan. Unfortunately, though, here we go again, Sarah, with the unfortunately when it comes to Maul.
Yeah. And I always do like an opposite, right? Well, not always. I remember one time Flo calling me contrarian, and I was like, no, I'm not. Well, great.
I stick by that statement.
Yes.
I mean, fortunately, once again, in certain aspects, yes, but unfortunately for poor Ezra's mental state,
Yes.
his like mental and soul bound ties to Maul are also strengthened during this time. And most of Ezra's Lothcat stage is tied directly to Maul. He won't graduate to Loth Wolf until after the former Sith is dead. He just won't be able to move on to the next stage until Maul is gone. So Maul's presence throughout the third season, this is like this menacing shadow in Ezra's life and in his mind. It is actually what leads Ezra to his next step, though. So here's the fortunate part. Without stepping into these darker aspects of his personality, Ezra wouldn't grow in the same way that he does. He learns
Look
that
at
his penchant
Anders.
for
He's
trusting
like,
strangers
I
must
have
be
not.
modified. I mean, he never puts faith in Maul again after the initial blinding. He never does. So he learns from this instance. But that also doesn't mean that Maul quits trying to court Ezra as his apprentice.
I think court is a very generous word. Maul is very, a Sith deals in absolutes, and he just says, "No, you're my apprentice."
Yes.
That is how he addresses
like,
him.
apprentice? Oh, my apprentice. It's lovely to see you again.
I love it.
Ezra's like, no.
Oh,
I find it incredibly charming and welcoming. I think it's the best way to play Ezra. I think that's the best way to play
Maul
Ezra.
is very charming. He has that going for him.
Yeah.
So Maul is continuing to use Ezra to ultimately, we realize, find Obi-Wan Kenobi, taking advantage of Ezra's deep desire to help others. Obi-Wan proves he's a very quick study when he, in the middle of the Tatooine desert, just finds a distraught Ezra on Tatooine, and it's just like, you are in the wrong place, Ezra Bridger. What you need, you already have. Unfortunately, you seem to be letting it all go.
Yikes.
He also reminds Ezra that Maul used Ezra's desire to do good against him and to be mindful of who really needs him, driving back towards that ghost family. And Ezra, realizing that he truly needs to be back on Lothal, the planet which he effectively abandoned to go on this adventure to Tatooine, despite everyone telling him not to go, that he is needed back on Lothal. And with that realization, though, he's able to transition to his next stage, and he's able to ultimately let that toxic relationship with Maul go.
Yep.
And I just rewatched this episode like last night, and it's a beautiful episode. The twin suns on Tatooine, the desert shots, everything about it is so cool. To see Obi-Wan in his kind of older man stage, still wielding his lightsaber, taking Maul down with like 2 or 3 strokes, I think, ultimately. But I did find it kind of funny that, going back again to the teen angst, this episode is basically Ezra as a teenager who snuck out to go to a party, got in over his head, and then had to be bailed out by his cool uncle.
Yeah, for sure.
He goes home with his head hanging low, and he's like, I learned my lesson.
Uncle Obi-Wan helped me.
And thanks to this, Ezra also shows an innate ability to understand past conflicts and resolve them. In the season 3 episode, quote, The Last Battle, he is also able to broker a peace between Rex and Kalani, a former separatist droid commander, and I love their interactions.
I love it.
So good.
He listens to both of them explain their opinions on the Clone Wars and figures out that neither one of them was supposed to win. Like, why do they keep falling for the same scripts? Both of you were meant to lose. Why haven't you learned this already, Rex? You literally have called this out yourself.
Yep.
Ezra, though, thankfully, House Hufflepuff could have a career in de-escalation.
Yes.
I would like to interject here, though, and the whole point of this conversation is about Ezra's empathy. I empathize with this droid so much.
Yep.
Like, the dude has been sitting on a problem, a puzzle, for almost 20 years, and he needs to like play it out to actually have the solution. It's like having that one last piece that you're just like obsessing over. It's like, no, I can solve this if I just have this one little bit. And I absolutely can relate to that feeling where it comes down to the principle of the thing. The actual answer starts to not matter anymore. And I need to finish this.
Well, especially after so many years.
Yes. 19 years since the end of the Clone Wars. Actually, probably more like 21 or 22 at this point. We're in season 3, right?
Ask me to do math. Yes.
Yeah, season 3.
Yeah. We're almost to Yavin. Note to self, though, Anders will restart a galactic conflict to solve a puzzle.
Yes.
We will remember that for later. For when we discuss our lightsaber colors. Ezra does this kind of de-escalation thing again. He's getting really good at this, getting good at talking people down. We get together with Forrest Whitaker. Here he comes. Mr. Saw Gerrera enters the scene later in season 3. So Ezra, he uses his empathetic powers yet again to connect with and interpret for a Geonosian named Click Clack, who's really cute. Like, we learned to kind of hate the Geonosians because of the prequels. But he's just like, he's the last one. He's the last one. He's protecting the queen egg. He's got stuff he's got to be doing.
Okay,
And
I'm
Saw,
gonna inject a little bit of
I like
culture
Flo's
here.
face.
Yes, I was like, Clone Wars. We got some Clone Wars. We got some Attack of the Clones.
Well, yes, love Geonosis, obviously Attack of the Clones. No, I was gonna interject a little bit of French knowledge.
Yes.
Please.
Click clack in French is a pull-out couch.
Oh.
So that's all I could think of when you were saying click clack.
Click Clack. Oh my gosh.
There you go. That was your French word of the day.
So that's not his full name. It's not Click Clack's full name, but that could be his nickname. Your nickname means pull-out couch. Which he doesn't even have in his little lair. Doesn't even have a pull-out couch. He's just basically living in a hole. So
that's Geonosis for
egg.
you.
And that's true. He's in the burrows, like really underneath where their city was. And Flo, all of the Geonosians at this point are dead. Like they've all been wiped out by the Empire.
There you go.
They are gone.
Great.
Yeah, they're gone. They gone. And Saw was kind of like, where'd all the Geonosians go? So he went to try and find out what sort of shenanigans the Empire's up to. And of course, he's like, I hate all Geonosians. And he starts threatening Click Clack. But Ezra is able to save the alien's life by appealing to Saw's familial sympathies. He finds Saw's trigger point, his kind of shatter point, and turns him back to the more empathetic side. Be like, please just let Click Clack go to his home with the queen egg and not drag him around the galaxy.
Don't wipe out an entire species.
Yeah, let's not do the complete genocide thing, please. That's just not how we should be choosing to win. So Ezra is slowly learning that Yoda may have had a point about the importance of choosing how to win. They can't fall into the Empire's practices, even if it might make things easier for the rebellion. This side of Ezra points to why his kyber crystal changed from blue to green. He's more open to reconciliation and to peace. At least at this point. At this point, he's doing pretty well. We're loving our Ezra right now.
Yep.
So Ezra returns to Chopper Base on Adelon at the end of season 3. He leaves behind his insecurities and his need for independence. He's embraced this kind of inner strength. He solidified his purpose. He tells the Spectres, quote, "This is where I'm supposed to be. You're my family, and we should go home." And that emphasis on family links directly to the next step, our next stage, Loth Wolves and Pack mentality.
Woo!
All right. That's the end of this segment. Anders and Sara, any last thoughts? notes? Anders,
No.
want to save your share your lightsaber color with us?
So I was thinking about this, and I ultimately landed, I think my lightsaber, I'd be green, I think. But I also think that I would probably have, I'd be kind of like Ahsoka. I'd have a shorter Shoto blade. And I think that one might be blue.
Ah, okay.
Cool.
That would be awesome.
I'll
Well, we
allow
know
it.
that the saber colors can have like different shades of green
Yeah.
too.
Yeah. I would like to
Shoto was a
think-
little lighter.
I would like to think that my, actually probably both of them would be a little bit of like a deeper shade, a little bit of a darker shade than we generally see, just because I think that looks cool.
Yes, it does look cool.
Yeah, we're
Mine
sure
would
that's the
be-
only reason why.
Mine's
Yeah.
blue, like an aquamarine kind of blue. We know what Sarah's is. We've
I mean,
talked
I'm
about this on the
purple.
pod before.
We're fine. I'm purple.
She's balanced.
I'm balanced
Very
as fuck.
balanced.
Don't you see it? I'm balanced.
Flo, what would your color be?
Yes, youngling.
I was also going to go with purple only because I'm such a Mace Windu girl from Attack of the Clones.
And I can't wait here.
Mace
Write this down. Yeah, because Colleen comes at Mace like
super hard.
very hard. So like we need to have a Mace Windu episode where you are clearly helping out because like I have to do some damage control every once in a while.
All
But-
right, it's noted.
Yeah, but I think that's where we'll leave you today, guys. We wrapped up our little Loth kitty cat section. And frankly, to peek behind the stage, we had originally thought, producer Sara knew that this wouldn't happen, but some of us originally thought that this would be a 2-part series. But we have so much to discuss, and we had already discussed, especially in addition to all of the amazing questions that you sent to us, that it's going to be longer. I mean, spade a spade, that's what it's going to be. And so stay tuned for next week for part 3 of our Ezra truly deep dive into where we'll explore Ezra's transition to the Loth Wolf. And then for part 4, we'll get into all of those questions. So to the extent you still have some, guess what? You get to submit them.
Typey.
Yeah, typey, sendy. We'll answer.
We're ready to answer.
And I mean, just remember, we're really stoked to be here on YouTube, but if you prefer listening to us in the podcast format, you can still find us on iTunes, TuneIn, Spotify, or frankly, wherever you get those podcasts. And in the meantime, please help us grow by heading to our YouTube channel. Hi, you're here. Welcome. And subscribing and telling other nerdy knights to join in, because legitimately that really does help. And it honestly cheers me the F up. So thank you all for joining us today, and we'll see you next time. If you have any questions or theories about anything we've discussed here today, especially Ezra, but not to the exclusion of him, hit us up on Instagram at Geek Studies, tweet at us at Geek Studies, or email us at bohemiangeekstudies@gmail.com. And after we conclude our character study, the next episode will be diving into those Ezra questions. So until next time, lightsabers up and keep those episodes streaming. Thanks so much, y'all. Have a good night.
Thanks,
Bye,
guys.
everybody.